It's the
Don't get
horns
me
up
started
talking.
on
It's
Purdy.
the horns up talking Texas podcast. We're back. Josh Fisher, Alexander Toss, the Rock Disciples, DJ Nikki Snacks Carter, and the Quan Cosby. Okay, we have to talk about Texas, Washington. We have to talk Texas basketball.
Yeah,
You have to.
proud of him.
First, yeah, we are very proud of those boys. Quan, last show we shouted out the volleyball team. Those girls went out and won the Natty, which is great.
Yeah.
In an NFL standpoint, nothing to do with the Longhorns. There is someone, Quan, that you owe an apology to. you owe a both.
I do not.
You owe the guy an apology. You sat on the show for a year and chat on him, and he's great or
He's
good for what they.
great.
He's great for what they need him to be.
He is very good at throwing it to McCaffrey for 2 yards out of the backfield, and McCaffrey turning it in 75.
Oh, he hit Kittle on a deep pass. Let's not like.
Him and Kittle have a bromance right now.
They do, but
they're talking about trading Lance and
hit
Garoppolo. Oh,
no!
Talking about
I will give this. He is overachieving on so many levels. And even the first game where he came in and balled out, I was like, good job. You know, they didn't have game film on you. But Purdy is playing well. My man Shanahan, put it like this: what has Matt Ryan been since Shanahan left? I think him as a play designer and game planner, I've heard it out his mouth. You know, he finds his players, he finds out what they can do half decent, and he truly tries to make them better and grow around their pieces. 49ers have all the pieces on the planet. And if you think about the NFC, that's not as strong from a quarterback standpoint as the AFC. Purdy would have to beat Dak, possibly Jalen, possibly what's my man and
Kirk
Cousins. So
Daniel Jones. Let's
not act like he's beating Josh Allen every week. And last but not least, out of all the teams I named on NFC, 49ers by far have the most superior defense of them all.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so he has not lost them games, and his defense has certainly given him a lot more possessions to
D'Amico Ryans might be a head coach next season.
Yeah.
Should be.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because
we had a lot of opportunities.
It's funny because I found myself this season as we watched Purdy play for the Niners, rooting against him just so you can be right.
Oh yeah, I started off rooting against Purdy for sure for UQ,
Listen,
and then once it's a good story.
I did not talk about Purdy in the league. I talked about Purdy at Iowa State,
Different
and I'm damn sure right. Go back to Iowa State; it is less than mediocre. It was
right. Well,
awful.
There's a reason why he was Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, seriously. And so did he? And maybe that was a Campbell deal. I don't know, but he did have another. Let me say, a couple of years ago, we had another NFL really good running back, NFL really good tight end, and an NFL receiver from a skill position standpoint. So him at Iowa State and Ames, Iowa, is so much to do that he was distracted.
I don't think
I'm being very facetious.
Like taking Iowa over there.
Hopefully this comparison doesn't minimize what he's been able to do. But when we talked with Cameron Dicker, a couple of weeks ago, and obviously he's continued to have success with this Chargers team, and I believe that he will continue to do so.
Has not missed a kick yet for the Chargers.
Not unbelievable. For the Chargers. It's been unbelievable. Awesome. And what, 3-game winners?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what he told us was, we were like, how much is the pressure? How has that changed getting to the bigs, going to the NFL in comparison to college? And he was like, well, the snaps are always perfect. The holds are always perfect. It's actually a lot easier. And, exactly. I think if you look, you think about Brock's situation and you talk about that defense, but you want to talk about that offensive line. You want to talk about that tight end, that running back, Debo when he's healthy, Ayuk. This team has some of the best talent in the NFL. So as long as he executes, he's going to be put in a position for success. And obviously Shanahan calling the plays, that always bodes well for any quarterback. I mean, look what Nick Mullins did in that position. Look what the rest of those backup quarterbacks, CJ Beathard, those guys looked pretty good in their stints when Jimmy went down or whoever the starting quarterback was. So I don't know, man. I get why he's been good, is my point.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And again, I always give their due. He's an athlete. He has the tools. He makes the NFL throws. I didn't even know that he had that in him. So he's doing all of that. And the 49ers is a very dangerous team on a weaker, in my opinion, NFC side. Per their defense, and if he continues to not make mistakes like a Cousins, like some of the folks we've seen over the years, be careful because those cats are trending in the right direction.
Good mistake-free football.
He looks like a guy that just got added to the UT football recruiting class, though, from high school. Like
baby face.
He does look like a baby face. And we could segue that to our fellas. Because last week we talked about a Q, but we didn't have you there, and now we do. Anthony Hill, we texted about it a little bit. He comes over, and all of a sudden now we have Cook, we have Arch, we have a defensive playmaker, which we were trying to rack our brain. I can't remember the last time we had a big defensive, like pass rusher, linebacker type come into our program like this.
I really think it was Jordan Hicks. Like that was the big one that we got. Like
Jordan Hicks was good from a 5-star standpoint. Because, man, you know what's crazy? I don't even know that Arakpo was a 5-star. He should have been, but I think Rack was 4, and then he grew into his
Jeff
body.
Coat?
I would say Jeff Coat because, you know,
yeah.
a lot of that has some hype, you know, and he had the NFL dad and all of that. And Jeff Coat was 6'6". Measurables were off the chart. So, yeah. I think Jackson Jeff Coat.
Malik was close.
All state.
Oh, yeah, Malik
dual
was
sport
5-star.
athlete. Yeah.
Malik was close.
He didn't have the Texas career we all wish he would have had. But actually, he was every bit of he was one of the top linebackers in the state as well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was the last guy. So Hill's in a very different scenario. And I man, what's funny, we talk about Purdy looking like a kid. Hill looks like a grown-ass man. Like that dude, he looks the part. And his film is pretty freaking special. So huge recruit get. The momentum, because we can talk about this season, but that's not the class. You know, if you really think about it, maybe Hill, because Hill made the decision later. But to have a top 3 class, really after Hill, number 2 class in the country, after a 5-7 season, dude, these cats, this staff, their recruiting ability, their retention ability, because clearly everybody's going after Worthy every year and everybody else. It's been really, really impressive for what we hope for, you know, after this season in the future. So I'm fired up as always.
That's a crazy point you just brought up, because like recruiting so often, I mean, for our whole lives, and now with the transfer portal, there's NIL, like it's thought of such an offensive type sport within the sport. And you brought up like retention, like people coming after Worthy,
playing
like
defense, yeah.
You have to play a little defense now in the recruiting trail and the transfer trail.
A lot of defense. I don't know if y'all heard, even Coach Brown talked to him, his frustration with, I guess the school's name was Bama and Ohio State coming after his quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking crazy digits, dude. I heard the number 3 and 4 and 5 million this kid was offered. Like, this is insane to me.
Yeah. Now you got him to stay, though. I mean, that's definitely a big win. I think with college athletes and just being young men, like it's easy for them to kind of play games, you know, and like use social media to, you know, stir things up a little bit. Like people were worried that Worthy was going to leave. And I still think there's a little bit of uncertainty. I think he's going to stay, but like, you know, he's focused on this bowl game, he said, but like scrubbing his entire Instagram, you know, like not putting any Texas stuff on there. Like, why make the fan base like shake like that? I mean, I think it's just a really young mentality. It's immature.
It is the level of attention, and as much as we partake in social media and all that, it's warped certain levels of our brain, certain levels of even someone's a star on that level, the likes, and let's be real, the marketability. If he can do that and get a response, and then, you know, he takes that to the next NIL person. He's like, listen, man, they pay attention. Look, I had 100,000. Now I've put a Longhorn back on there and I'm at 160, and it's all
It's a good
very
point.
exhausting is what it is. And
Yeah.
people often ask why I don't want to be a coach. This is why. Because even I'll go old school. And I'm gonna throw a little curveball at y'all.
Please.
Because we're in the NIL era and we're in the bowl season era. When I was there, this didn't happen very often, but it really got prominent right after. But guys started opting out of bowl games to preserve their health for going to the league. Unfortunately, a lot of people did that, didn't even get drafted. So it's a whole nother story. But you add NIL, there's no way around it. We've gotten that in there. If you're getting 6 digits, 7 digits, that school, those donor bases paid you for playing at that school. You sign a contract as an obligation to get that money. Shouldn't you play the bowl game? Because you know what you can also do is buy an insurance policy per where you're projected. And instead of it being for, stay your senior year and play another 15 games, one game, pay your year, you get hurt, get your bread, give you more time to rehab and still have a chance to get in the league. But as much, and by the way, when I say this example is because Bijan is a phenomenal young man, a great dude, insanely great representative of UT. But here, those that represent him is like, oh no, don't play in that game. You got to preserve this. Well, when they're saying that is because they're preserving their money. They didn't get the Ferrari and things that Bijan and them got. And by the way, say we're talking Dallas Cowboys, say they draft Bijan. They didn't give him that Ferrari either. They didn't give him the first 7 digits he got at school. So I'm old man venting on this, but I have an issue. And I was in very different bowl games, so it's not apples to apples. But I always kind of thought it was a little strange when guys opt out. I understand absolutely why they do, and I'm an advocate for it. But I really have a problem with it now.
Well,
So do I.
I think Bijan is a little bit different just because he's a running back. The longevity of the career is, that position just doesn't hold up as well as other positions. And he's a lock to be in the first round. I don't understand when guys who are not supposed to be in the first round don't play. Get as much game film as possible.
Dude, get more film.
Roshan, you could be you're the number 1 back this week, Roshan.
He would have been that guy. Like, who is advising him?
Right.
He would have gotten at least 10 to 15 more.
And
carries.
with modern medicine, look, of course, no one wants to get injured, but you see guys every season like Jamison Williams didn't play all season, but just started playing. I mean, he was a guy that they took. Mechie got drafted. Like, there's plenty of guys that have injuries that get drafted and they're fine. Waddle, exactly.
Yeah. If it's meant to be, it's gonna be
100%. And then over Sean too, like, look, obviously, like a lot, and it's frustrating because Roshan, Overshawn, Bijan are 3 of the names that we've and I want to get to, where Bijan ranks in running backs in Burnt Orange from UQ, but these are 3 of the guys in the 2 years we've been doing the show that they are the 3 most prominent names we bring up almost every show. And this is not a bad game. Look, Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. are playing for Alabama. And those guys, they're not only going to be first round picks, those could be pick 1, pick 2.
Yeah.
Those could be the first 2 picks. So they're
Ricky
playing.
Williams came back his whole senior year and got that insurance policy. Now that's a different beast. 2 weeks on there. But and by the way, if he got the right agent, would have been a top 3 pick.
I think we'll get there too. We're so early in this NIL process. There will be stipulations that are added to these contracts for these guys eventually, right? It's, as we've said multiple times, it's the wild, wild west right now. There are no rules. There are no regulations. They will, or they should, whoever is signing these checks, put in bonuses and stipulations so that these guys have to go out on the field and compete in games like the bowl games.
Incentive based, basically.
Yeah, incentive based,
Yeah, exactly.
just like professional contracts are as well.
Which is what they are anyway. And even think about, if I'm giving you $50K in this NIL deal, we're going to exit what I feel like the season is. But the bowl games, we say it all the time. Well, there's way too many games. What are most of us going to do when we have time today? watch these bowl games because it's what's on and it's good. I mean, it's football. It's teams that don't see each other. And last but not least, the eyeballs. The eyeballs you're paying for from a marketing standpoint are these bowl games. The extra time, again, it's film. You get on ESPN. You do all of this different stuff. You get live interviews. When I scored the game winner, I mean, the amount of folks from back home that saw that live interview, that's what this season is about. So I'm a little interested. I thought about that a couple of days ago, and I was like, holy bleep, they are getting paid.
Yeah.
And then they're
getting paid to sit.
They're getting paid. And then you opted out. And fortunately, coach is a great guy, and he's letting them do all the festivities and stand on the sideline in their freaking lawn. That's so frustrating to me. How I just couldn't do that.
So these guys are going to be with the team. They're going to be at the bowl.
Yeah, some of them. Oh, dude, some of them have already. They're in San Antonio hanging out. I've seen interviews done. And I'm like, what? It's a wild world, and I honestly, I think at the next level, that's what is not being told of them. I've absolutely seen guys get that question, bro. Why didn't you play in that game? You're projected to third.
Yeah, well, at
which
the same
means
time,
you might have gone fifth. Like, what are you thinking?
I know it's a little different just because like the team pays you in the NFL and like it's a contract, right? And you're obligated to play your games. But like, what's the difference if like the Houston Texans, right? Their season's over. Like, there's a guy who's got a contract year. He's gonna be free agent next year, right? Where he's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't play these last two games because that might hurt me in free agency.
What does this show teams? What is this like? Like if you're drafting, like, and I see like, if we spoke about this on our other show, and you see Jackson Smith and Jigba who can play in the college football playoff. Like, I get that he was hurt most of the year, but Waddle was hurt a lot of the year for Bama. The year with Mac Jones, and he came back and played. If you're Jackson Smith,
he was limping the whole freaking game, being opening it up for Devontae Smith, being a decoy,
literally a decoy on the field. Exactly. If you're Jackson Smith and Jigba, like, how are you not playing in that against Georgia? It's just unfathomable to me. Like, I don't know. Again, yeah, I respect it's their bodies, but at the same time, it's like you want to put film on tape. You want to play for your university. If you were going to sit out, Bijan's draft stock has been the same from the opening snap. We have been out of the college football playoff since we lost to TCU. Why'd you play against Baylor? Like, at what point are like, I mean, I guess we're going for the Big 12 championship in some dream scenario, in the Kool-Aid scenario. But like, why are you playing these games that once we were knocked out of the CFP or the Big 12, like once we lost that game to TCU, then just sit out at that point? And it's a shame because this is a game. Like, this is not like we got a solid draw in the bowl game. Like Washington, they have most of their guys playing. And most of the guys, like, their quarterback's coming back next year. This is a team that's looking to be a dark horse in a stronger Pac-12. Like, don't you want to show out? Like, and I'm curious, like, for my thing that I'm looking for in the game that I'm keying in on, I'll get to y'all's. Like, Quinn had some questions around his injury throughout the year once he came back from the Alabama game, and he came back quicker than we anticipated. And all of a sudden, like, that deep ball, that pretty ball, the balls we fell in love with were gone, nowhere to be found. He's had a month off. He's had a month to recover, a month to get healthy, a month of the lack of hits. Him, Worthy, who had scrubbed his Instagram, but now has unscrubbed it. And it's like we were talking about before.
Changed his number too.
Changed his number to number 1 now that Hudson's gone. Shout out to him going to Purdue. Like, I want to see what these guys can do. And if you're Roshan Johnson, like, hey, Brooks licking his chops 10 times over because he thinks that, oh my God, he thinks Cedric Baxter's coming in and taking that job from him. This guy's gone. He's got a number 200 on his mind.
And that's the thing, that it's a lot of young guys, a lot of new faces. For us, if it works out in our favor, we're going to be so damn optimistic and pumped about what's to come. But again, it's a weird dynamic. Eric Metcalf was coming down, and him and I have talked about this, and we talked to him on the show, and he's like, he's coming down from Seattle because of his love for Longhorn Nation, and he has no dog in this fight. He's like, this is a bowl game, man. This is a big deal. I want to come see him. The time didn't work in any other way, and so those little things like that from a Longhorn to a Longhorn, and I'm gonna tell you, last but not least, because I saw this in the league. I played with T.O. Most of his contract was incentivized. T.O. was absolutely balling that year. We weren't having a great year, but we were balling. But about the last 4 games, T.O.'s targets went from 10 to 2 to 3. So you can't complain to a certain degree if there's, incentivized things, or what if they start doing that in the league? You got some incentives in there, and you know what? We're not really going to make it to the playoffs, or we're going to be a wild card. Nah, because as long as you're in the playoffs, you're good. We're not going to make it to the playoffs. Let's just quit targeting.
Yeah,
You know how
we've
mad
seen that
like?
before in the NFL.
We've
There's been
seen it.
guys who were like should have gotten bonuses,
Should have gotten
and
like
their team doesn't run plays for them.
$250K, and they don't do
Yeah.
it. And it's like, so you can't complain on that
People.
level, then keep opting out of bowl games that you're getting paid for as well. So it's,
Yeah.
I'm off that now, but yeah, I'm fired up about the young folks, because we do have talent. And even in Sark's second year, there's some really good players on there who are hungry. We saw it a little bit. I think it was Tom's last year when they beat the brakes off Colorado, who wasn't very good, but they beat the brakes off. And we're like, man, who are all these young cats that seem hungry, fired up, and ready to go into the next year?
Yeah, that was Casey's big game.
Big game. And then we saw that kind of matriculate a little bit. Still needed to clean some stuff up, but I'm fired up to see some.
Was that also the Alamo Bowl?
Yeah, bro, we've been in Alamo Bowl like 4 of the last 6 bowl games we've been to.
I mean,
like our whole lives.
You look at the 2 teams that are playing in this, like, if anything like shook out differently in the regular season, both of these teams could have been in the playoff. Like at times we were saying that Washington could win the Pac-12.
They're 10-2.
Yeah.
12 team in the nation.
Both really good teams. So it's a shame that this has happened now with the CFP taking precedent, and like really that's what everyone cares about, and bowl games have become second fiddle, and it's not going to change, because as the playoff expands, we're going to care even less and less about the bowl games. Sure. But Quan, your point about the, look, it's December 28th. It's a Wednesday. There's nothing on right now in the world of sports except a college bowl game. That is, and guess what? NFL scouts on Wednesday, they like watching football. They're probably gonna switch it on. If they see you, you never know. So it's like,
you ball on the game, I mean, there was guys that played in March Madness who were just sick for a tournament run, and all of a sudden they shot up draft boards, and whether they should have been drafted, we don't know. But they shot up draft boards because they had a great run. I mean, 100%. I mean, again, we've beat the dead horse on it, but this is a team that's got a good offense and a bad defense. Their defense stinks for all intents and purposes, and their offense is high powered. So we have a chance to prove that our defense was for real this year, and their offense can bounce back. T, we'll go back to you, man. What are some things you're looking for in this game?
Me? I mean, we already talked about Jonathan Brooks. I mean, that's my guy right there. So
yeah.
I want to see
best friends.
Yeah. I really think that it's what we've done in the recruiting class. I want to see the guys that are young on this team step up, so that what I thought, we made a really, really good step in the recruiting process, is that we were filling holes of a lot of needs. I know running back probably wouldn't seem like one, because we still have Keelan, we still have Brooks, but we lose Bijan, we lose Roshan. Okay. Cedric comes in, right? But we bring in, we're losing a lot of pass rush, right? We're losing a lot of linebackers, that. We address that. Our offensive line is really young and really talented. Okay, we didn't get as many recruits on that side. I'm not as worried about that. So I think it was really smart and savvy by Sark and his team to kind of go after the positions to really continue to build in the gaps and fill in those gaps. And I think we're going to see a lot of success next year because of that. And I like that, we're not necessarily number 1 and number 2, because I think that's still Alabama and Georgia, right, in the recruiting class. But it doesn't matter to me. And we'll get there eventually, when we put together the wins on the field. So I think it's just, you use this game as momentum and take care of business, execute, do the little things. I went to that Sugar Bowl game against Georgia, and when Sam said we're back, I know we didn't end up becoming truly back that following year. But Longhorn Nation was behind the team when that happened. Yeah. And I think you can't understate how important these bowl games are, because when push comes to shove, every Longhorn fan will be watching this game.
Dude, it's sold out. I mean, we've been to this bowl game a million times. It is in our backyard, but it's sold out. And that says a lot. I think there was a time where it would not have.
How many
we
times
as
do
a-
they sell out the Valero Alamo Bowl?
when Longhorns are there?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it happened again. So I'm fired up about it, man. We got some young cats that I think are going to show off. And to your point, Washington has a great offense as well. So to see us kind of go toe to toe with them on that level, maybe our defense actually gets a stop or two that they don't. It could be a really fun game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a game could be good.
It could be a really fun and good game. Well, I mean, even the storylines, Sark, his career, I'm excited about it. And last but not least, we didn't go to a game last year, a bowl game. So yeah, there's progress, and I think we sold it out, but I think we need to be fired up about this game. And I know and feel like the players are as well. Those who are playing.
I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually the bowl season's a pretty good bonding moment for the team, right? You're off school, you're on break, you get a bunch of bowl gifts, you get to hang out in a hotel, you guys are just chilling. Like, this is a good opportunity for the young guys to mesh together.
The year we went to the Alamo Bowl, we did go 10-3, which was a down season for us. We did that. We hung out. We went to SeaWorld. We did all that. Dude, we go back next year and we're crazy injuries away from going to a natty again. We went 12-1 the very next year. Colt got more practices. He was a little banged up, but he got more work. You get those 15 practices to damn near implement certain things you even want to try the next, the following year, which we did by putting us in the slot, Ship, me, and all that. It's just so many levels to it that you can develop and get some guys out there to play. And I mean, going back to even speaking of that Alamo Bowl, A. Ross went first round. He played in the Alamo Bowl.
Hell yeah.
He got, I think, a block punt, an interception. I mean, he balled out, and he was going to go. They had him, I think, projected to, even as a Thorpe, late first, maybe second. Oh, pew, got a huge signing bonus. And so examples like that is why you get fired up about this game.
Love it. Yeah. I'm looking for some things. One, I really want to see Quinn and Worthy really connect this game, because I think all season long, like, it's been hit and miss. Like, there's been some nice games, but I really want to see him feed Worthy and solidify that he's going to stay a Texas Longhorn and have that connection for next year. And then two, I want to find someone on the defense that's willing to step up when Overshawn's gone. Who's going to be the leader of the defense? Who wants to take control?
As far as player, I've been saying this all year long. I want Jay Witt. Jay Witt, still, like you said, Worthy's going to be out there. Those two combined on needing some spark. Quinn getting them the ball like he did early on before the injury. And by the way, there's a chance Jay Witt may return.
Oh, yeah.
Like a big
100%.
And so I want to see him ball out and not necessarily to make him reconsider that return, but to, again, build momentum and say, hey, you know what? Longhorn Nation, give him his due, give him his love. And there's a lot of NIL cash freed up with Bijan being gone. So maybe he earned a little bit more for himself on that return.
Yeah, we're taking on a lot more, though, with Arch Manning, I think.
Yeah, that last name carries a lot of weight. I mean, Barron, Watts, like, they're going to throw. Yeah. Like, you bring up Aaron Ross. I want to see what Watts, these guys that are coming back, we know are coming back. I want to see what they can do on the defensive side. Real quick, guys, real quick before we get to basketball quickly. Where does Bijan rank for you, Q? Because you've seen the most backs. You know these guys. Where does he rank in Texas backs?
By the way, and this is a tough one for me because I absolutely love Jamal, all of them. But Jamal, he bounced pretty early too. I think he's fourth. I mean, certainly for me, it's Earl, it's Ricky, and for me, it's also Cedric Benson. Said B is only behind those two when it comes to yards and all-purpose. Bijan, I'm sure, has them from catching the ball, but you also had a very different offense at the time, and Said B was it. Said B was like 70% of our offense, and he always pounded and took care of business. So, a really good buddy. Sentimentally, I'm going to roll with him all day. I think pound for pound, talent for talent, Bijan just did such amazing things, but I also never saw Said B with a game with 20 yards. 30 yards. I can talk about the amazing games he had, but Said B had 100 damn. The reason this yard shot up, because it wasn't very many games. He didn't have 82-200.
Yeah,
So
I think you got the right list right there. I mean, you got 2 Heisman winners. Obviously, those guys are 1 and 2. Ricky won it twice. The Doak Walker, and then of course Sedby.
Yeah,
you know, there's some close ones. We've had.
I
some
don't want
good
to
running
stat
backs,
correct you.
know,
We have had. Oh, sorry, Nick. I think I was a little delayed there.
It's all good. I'm just saying that there's been definitely some guys that can give some of the guys for run the money. I mean, you got Jamal, Deontay, you know, is definitely in the top 10. You know, Fozzie Whitaker was great, you know, back in the day as well. But a lot of it also translates to who won as well, right? Like Bijan really never won.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This was his best season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, clear the pages for my guy Brooks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm kidding, but he's really talented.
I hope.
I'm excited to
you
watch
hope
him play.
Though. Yeah, you hope he's there. And I not to stat correct you, sorry, Q, but Sedby is not 3rd, but he's 2nd in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So he's
there you go. Yeah, it's Ricky Sedby then Earl, isn't it?
Yeah, and both rushing touchdowns and rushing yards.
Yeah, that's my point. Dude's a beast here.
Yeah, and then I was just looking at the stats, and let's not forget who's number 4 in career receptions. A guy on the Zoom, not named me Nick or Tass. Let's talk basketball real quick, guys, because not to just we don't want you to disclose too much or have if you know anything like that, Quan. But you're down there in Austin, and you've been around, I'm sure, the Moody Center. And I want to hear the vibe like in the room from you, and also kind of from everyone's perspective, like how maybe proud we are of these guys, because it's such a weird, adverse situation. And you see a guy like Marcus Carr come out and has pretty much since that moment been lights out, including a 41-point explosion.
Yeah.
10 3-pointers out of 15. Insane.
That's nuts. I'm gonna tell you what's cool about that though, is we all saw what happened and they looked so bad that night and still found a way to rally against Rice. And Rice shot, speaking of 3-pointers, I think Rice was like shooting damn near 50% that night.
Yeah.
Then I went to Dallas to see them play Stanford. And again, thinking about that night, it was just rough, as it should have been. It was fresh. It happened that morning. A few days, try to regroup. Stanford, first half, I was just like, oh man, dude. I was like, this is going to be tough for these guys. But I don't know what happened at halftime. They beat the brakes off Stanford in the second half. And then I went to the game the other night where they played
Louisiana,
and they looked like they did last night. And I was like, it's been, okay, this is removed. We're getting better. We know who we are. Player-led team. It's been instilled in us. And it's a phenomenal progression because I also go back to Gonzaga. And I remember in the second half, I was telling the group I was with who from Dallas, and I said, that's how they looked versus Gonzaga. And then I go to Louisiana, and that's how they look versus Gonzaga. And last night, you know, they competed for a little bit, but they got in their groove. Carr's been explosive. Hunter's been doing exactly what he's been doing. And everybody's been playing just Allen, just a great role for us. So what's going to happen? I don't know. We're still number 6. And again, as crazy as it is, we're still getting better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're still getting better. There's not going to be a Carr have 10-3 nights every night. But that cat, it used to be, it's boom or bust. And no, it's pretty consistently booming lately. And you just hope he keeps that momentum. The players are just playing smart. I remember saying, I was like, damn, it's just a smart basketball play, moving it offensively, and then haven't dropped an ounce on just the way they've been defending. So,
and then the one game that they dropped was the game where they looked the least smart. And look, I think the preseason or the non-conference play has gone almost as perfectly as you expect it to be, besides the off the field issue with Chris Beard. But one overtime loss to a good Illinois team, almost a perfect record heading into conference play. And look, this conference play, we say it every single season, it's going to be a gauntlet. Every single team in our conference has an over 500 record.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. But we're the best
get Oklahoma. You get your biggest rival on New Year's Eve.
Kick it off. Yep.
Your biggest
Saturday
rival.
at home?
Definitely your
Yep.
biggest rival, not that team down south. They ain't our biggest rival. We know that for sure.
Dude, time out. Our first one Saturday at home
Yep.
Yeah.
on 31st.
Yep.
One
It's,
one
Mhm.
C one
1 p.m.
CT.
CT. Yep.
Ooh, thank y'all.
Oh, I could
Needed
watch that. I
Oh,
could,
that
I could
one's
watch
not
that
at
game.
home. Not at
I'm about
home.
to
It's in Norman.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm sitting there going, dude, why am I not there? What's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
We
But
get them in the Moody Center on February 18th. So that place better be rocking.
oh, it will be.
Mhm.
That Moody Center. I've
just-
told y'all it's insane.
We got to go. I mean, they just also like we have 2 guys of 4 assists on the team. We had the Marcus Carr game where he exploded for points.
Arterio Morris has played 2 really good games in a
Yes,
row.
it really has.
And so it's nice when guys like, if Hunter, doesn't have his best game, a guy like Morris can step up, and he's only going to get better throughout the rest of the season. Mitchell had a really good game this past game. Look to him. I mean, what you want to see with a guy like that, who's at his best, a lottery pick this year in the NBA, like you want to see him be our second best player come tourney time. That's
or Morris though, dude.
Because, well, I'm just saying from a pure talent standpoint, like what Dylan Mitchell can do, very few guys in college basketball can, athletically. So I want to see him like really continue to assert himself. And then you have Timmy, who's just so consistent.
That's what I was about to say. I know what you mean by he needs to be the second best, but if I go back
second, like eye test, just like most dynamic player, like because Timmy almost gave us basically a college version of a triple double last game. He was like 8, 7, and 7 like that. Very few guys can do that. We rely so much on him to be consistent that I want to see other guys become consistent as well.
Yeah. And at different roles, like on the boards where Mitchell can do catching one off the glass and throwing it down, and just because of momentum and the things that happen. And I was thinking about the beer teams, the role plays and players, even though he had some really good folks, they're so important. So Timmy's consistency, Dessou, I mean, all those guys in there kind of doing their thing collectively, pushing the ball. Of course, he loves the transition after that great defense. And let's of course, I got Brock. I mean, Brock's, field goal percentages shot up like crazy. It's nuts. He hits 2 or 3 threes a game and only shoots 4. So I like the way it's moving, the way it's going. We did see a dip, but where it's trending going into conference play, even with the uncertainty of your head guy, has been pretty freaking impressive.
Yep. We should circle a couple of dates on our calendar for the tournament. Of course, the Natty this year, the Final Four is in Houston at NRG. So circle that.
Nice.
April 1st and 3rd, if we end up making it. And then I don't know what region we're going to be in, obviously, but there's a Western regional final in Vegas on the 23rd and 25th of March. So Q, I know you like Vegas.
Ooh, we need to circle those for sure. We keep going in that direction. We're going to book that early.
But it's just like, you know what it was is for me last night and the game with Morris before, like those 28, those 40-point game, like those never are guys.
I was about to say,
that was never us
in a long time. That was never
us.
Gonzaga dropping a 40-piece.
That's like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, all right, like we lost to Gonzaga last year. Timmy had like 35, like KD, like Nick saying, like what KD's 15 years, like literally 15 years ago. Like, so at this point, like we needed these guys in the building, and like
I just don't think we've ever had like a microwave guy who just gets hot like that,
No, it's not even like I'm trying to rack my brain for it. And then we have
most
Timmy Allen.
Most of our big recruits have been bigs who weren't necessarily like post scorers, right? Where in college, like that's where those guys can really rack up a lot of points. But I mean, even, MT and just our other guys, Bamba, like none of them like lived in the paint. They caught a lot of lobs. They would, bring in offensive rebounds and putbacks, but they weren't like post scorers like Timmy is, where they were getting 10 plus touches per game. So it makes sense. But, our best player is our point guard right now, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. I mean, there's also we have a really fun game at the end of January against Tennessee. That's like our only out of conference game the rest of the way. But of course, playing against Rick once again,
they're good too.
Yeah,
and they're really good. They are really sound.
We go there this time because I think they came to us last year, right?
We're there.
Home deal.
Yeah, we're there.
It's crazy. West Virginia, Kansas State, they're all good.
Nice
all right,
time to be a
guys.
Longhorn.
Nice time to be a Longhorn.
It really is.
Let's go beat Washington. Let's go. Let's make the game matter and beat Washington. Josh, Tass, Nick, and the Quan Cosby. We'll see you guys in the new year. Hook 'em horns.